Today, we're going to talk about whether you, as a charity or non-profit, are making the best use of your lotteries for maximum income generation. Last week, we talked about raffles and auctions, so please check out our YouTube video to look at that content. And into the future, we're going to talk about other fundraising-related subjects like gift vouchers and shops, memberships, and such like. Okay, so before we really progress into the content, one of the questions is, why are we looking at lotteries? So traditionally, charities consider fundraising to be asking their supporter base for donations and entering fundraising events. And research is starting to show now that as you progress along your fundraising maturity model, the more engaging supporter experiences you offer your supporters, the more overall fundraising income you can expect to win or achieve. So again, just to go over this graphic here, this is a graphic showing the 10 most active charities on the People's Fundraising platform, www.peoplesfundraising. And it shows their overall income over the year 2020, 2021, and 2022. And again, the story behind this is, again, when charities typically engaging individual, community, and corporate fundraising, so it's not just community or individual, it's corporate fundraising as well. Charities generally ask their supporter base for donations, which is the blue, or engage in fundraising events, so things like cake bakes, marathon runs, as the example I always give, or enter events. So that's really a charity who's engaging in fundraising from a less mature perspective. So as non-profits and charities realize that the supporter base wants to be engaged, they therefore offer more engaging supporter experiences. And so today's topic is lotteries, but again, more engaging supporter experiences could be anything such as auctions or gift vouchers or shops. And our research is showing that as you offer these more engaging experiences, your overall revenue will increase over time. And the interesting thing about that is there's understood reasons why we have these increase. Firstly, your supporter base wants to feel part of a community, and also they want simply just more engaging experiences. If you keep on asking your supporter base for donations, donation fatigue will kick in. If you just rely on your supporter base doing fundraisers, and again, donation fatigue will kick in there as well. So you are on the right path if you're thinking about more engaging experiences such as lotteries. And then as you mature further up the fundraising maturity model, then the next stage is to empower your supporters to participate, so set up their own auctions, raffles, and lotteries, and therefore you will see a corresponding increase. So hopefully, you're here coming from the perspective of you are wanting to understand how to increase your overall fundraising income. And most charities we speak to are either within the supporter engagement world using traditional tools, and starting to think about the enhanced supporter engagement model. Okay. So let's continue then. Let's specifically focus on lotteries. So just to frame, what is a lottery and why do people use them, and how do people use them, and how can we maximize greater income generation? So a lottery is a gambling competition in which people purchase one or more number lines for a set period of time, and which gives the opportunity of winning a prize or prizes. At the end of the lottery, one or more number lines are drawn at random. The prize is won if a drawn number line matches the purchase number line. And I specifically define what a lottery is, because a lot of non-profits actually intermix the notion of lottery and raffle. Okay, we'll talk about or we compare a raffle in a moment. Okay, so let's just focus on some of these terms. So the key thing with a lottery is that it's a gambling competition. And as such, at the very least, you will require a local authority license to hold the online lottery. I've got a typo here. And depending on the scale, the scope of the lottery, you will need to undertake the lottery related to slightly different legal requirements. So the legal requirement is out of the scope of this discussion. But again, please engage with your local authority, or if it's a larger lottery, engage with the Gambling Commission to understand the specific ins and outs of the lottery itself. Okay, now in terms of prizes, a lottery prize can be monetary or non-monetary. And so the default is that people generally think of, I am going to win a monetary prize. However, we can be creative with what can be won. And also, in terms of the monetary prize, if it is a monetary prize that can be won, again, different organizations offer different things. So you see a lot of lotteries now that are offering maybe £25,000 as you know, a one-off prize, but also you've got the percentage split as well. So another typical type and less risky lottery is to say one will win, say, 50% of the take from that lottery. Okay. Now let's just compare this against what is a raffle. Now the reason why we do this is that when one thinks of a lottery, one generally thinks of the national lottery type format, where I go into a shop or I'm on my smartphone, I enter a series of numbers, and if those numbers are drawn or some combination of those numbers, then I win a prize. Okay. However, if you look on a lot of charity websites, there's some beautiful lotteries out there. So Age UK do some great lotteries, Macmillan, RSPCA, RSPB, they all do really good lotteries. But related to the notion of is it the national lottery style lottery, it is more of a raffle. Okay, so let's just define what a raffle is compared to a lottery. Again, it's a gambling competition, and therefore you need the corresponding license in which people purchase numbered tickets for a set period of time, and which give the opportunity of winning a prize or prizes. At the end of the raffle, winners are drawn and allocated prizes at random. All prizes are won. So there are obviously similarities between raffles and lotteries. Both there's definitely a random aspect to choosing who's won what. Both you can have monetary or non-monetary prizes. If it's a monetary, it can be a fixed prize, or it can say be a percentage of the takings. But I think one of the biggest differences is that with a raffle, all prizes are won out of the pot of people purchasing raffle tickets, compared to with a traditional lottery, not all prizes are won. And in that, it is simply a different supporter experience. Okay. Right, let's look at when to use lotteries. So if you do a survey of, especially a lot of the large charities doing lotteries now, they're very similar. Okay, and really they really tend more towards the raffle type of game. So lotteries are typically used in a similar way to, interestingly enough, the donation ask, and that can result in donation fatigue and lack of network reach. So what do we mean by this? So it just seems a great idea, doesn't it? You know, we're going out to our supporter base. We've asked them for donations. That avenue, to a degree, has been exhausted due to donation fatigue. We're going out to another demographic or segment of our supporter base. We've asked them to set up fundraising pages, and now we're asking them to contribute more money to the lottery to support us. It's a new experience, great. However, there are different ways of approaching when you offer lotteries and raffles. And what we see is a lot of, again, especially the larger charities, they're generating reasonable income. However, they do result a lot of the time in donation fatigue and lack of network reach. So again, donation fatigue is where the supporter base no longer has the means or inclination to donate, or in this case, to buy a lottery ticket. Now, why is that? So with the donation ask, you'll continually ask your supporter base just to make a donation, and what do they get in return? Okay, you may send them an email of thanks and whatnot. And that's the same with a lot of these high value lotteries. You are asking them to essentially give money with an opportunity of winning something. Now, the key thing here is that, especially if you're engaged in a large lottery with a large payout, people generally understand. So it's a bit like when I enter the national lottery, that the chances of winning are minimal. So in a similar way, it's a very similar ask to the donation ask. You're asking for money without really much in return. Okay. Now, also, there's a component of lack of network reach here as well. Your charity lottery, if you're holding one, it also has to compete with other lotteries or other raffles out there as well. Remember, with a raffle, you're always going to win something. With a lottery, you're not necessarily going to win something. And also, it has to compete with things like the national lottery or postcode lottery as well. So, as a charity, we just need to be aware of whenever we offer out a new fundraising experience, and in this case, a lottery, there is a level of competition within a similar ecosystem. And so you should always balance out your returns with respect to how much time, effort, energy, and money you expend on providing that experience. And just to frame what I mean by that, um, if you look at the RSPCA lottery, and I have to say, well done to RSPCA because they're one of the most open charities with respect to how much it costs them to run a lottery in this case. So the quote goes, in 2022, they raised over 3 million through lottery sales. And that sounds like a fantastic number. Of course, it's a fantastic number. Until you realize that pretty much 80% were spent on operational costs, which is crazy. And only 20% of that money actually went to the underlying cause. Okay, so this is RSPC are great for doing this. And this aligns with a lot of the time, when people use like high cost fundraising sites, people are now aware of these costs. And so they're quite selective in choosing how they're spending money, how they're supporting their charities. Okay. So how can we improve on this as well? So what we believe is, yes, engage your supporter base using these different experiences. Hold these large lotteries or large raffles. However, there is a way we can improve, refine, and optimize. Okay, so we believe, and I think a lot of charity fundraisers would align with the belief, that the fundraising strategy should really focus on developing long-term relationships with your individual community and corporate fundraising networks, and through that relationship over time generate recurring income. Okay, so that's almost an opposite strategy to providing, for example, if you look at Age UK, they have a singular corporate lottery, which is great. But again, it's not really focusing on developing a relationship with anyone in particular. And it's not necessarily focusing on being local. So how can we increase the lottery take? So essentially, we break these down into 4 rules of thumb. So the first thing is make it local. Okay. And again, if you look at RSPCA, Macmillan, and whatnot, their lotteries are national as opposed to local. Okay. Now, one of the reasons why fundraising pages were or are such a success, I do a marathon run, I do a cake bake, I send my donation page to family and friends, is that research always shows that people donate, they engage more often when there's a relationship between the person asking to give money and the entity asking to receive money. Okay. So a local RSPCA holding a lottery with their locally engaged supporter base would have more opportunity, more chance of generating money. However, not as much money compared to a national charity doing it. Now, if you sum all of those local charities together as a lottery, you will generate more money compared to the single national one. Okay. And again, it's because of that personal relationship. I live in an area and there's a local RSPCA to me, and I see the benefit, and therefore I want to support that, as opposed to the faceless corporate charity. Okay, there's also the notion of bettering the odds. Now, remember that we want to develop a relationship over time with our individual, community, and corporate networks, and we want to try and get away from this donation ask issue. So again, you'd asking me to enter the lottery. You and I both know that there's virtually very, very small chance of winning that, which is a donation ask. So how can I do that now? So set up lotteries that are slightly more interesting and have slightly better odds. And I'll show you an example about how you can do this. Okay. And again, a bit similar to the local lottery, whereby you may not generate as much as a national lottery. However, if you sum all of the local lotteries together, you would generate more than the national lottery. A better odds lottery or raffle may outcome in somebody winning less, but over time, doing repeated lotteries, local lotteries and raffles, you would actually generate more. And the reason why is it's more of an engaging experience. If I enter a lottery, or well, lottery in this case, because remember raffle, somebody always wins something. But if I enter a lottery and I can really understand the odds are reasonable of me winning, then I'm more likely to re-engage in that in the future. Okay. Now, the other thing as well is differentiate and use the right experience. Okay, this is a really, really important one. And remember, when most people think about lotteries, they think about the national lottery format where you pick your numbers, you submit your numbers, and then there's a draw of numbers. And if your numbers align or match in some way, you win a prize. Okay. And again, if you look at a lot of the nationally orientated charity lotteries, it's more of a raffle format. Okay. Now, the important thing with differentiating is that, and I'll show you an example in a moment, is that the experience of entering a raffle and entering a lottery are very, very different. So you want to use those two different differentiating experiences as touch points with your individual community and corporate networks, as opposed to just having a thing that you taught that is a lottery that you call it a lottery, but in actual fact it's a lottery. It's a raffle. So really differentiate the experiences and use both experiences as an opportunity to engage with your supporter base. Okay. Now the final one is empower your supporter base. And if you remember back to the graph whereby the first column were charities just undertaking fundraising using donations, fundraisers, and events. Then the middle column is where charities start to use things like raffles and lotteries and auctions and gift vouchers. That's you as a charity or non-profit engaging more interesting enough with your supporter base. Think about now empowering your supporter base for them to be able to set up their own lottery or raffle or auction supporting your charity. And again, the logic is sound. The logic is such that if there are, say, 5 people within your fundraising team, within your nonprofit, those 5 people can, say, generate 5 fundraising events throughout the year, raffles, fundraisers, etc. Okay, so from those 5 fundraising events, you're going to make £5, just say. Now, generally, charities have a wider individual community and corporate network than just the same size as their fundraising team. So say it's just like 50. And 100, even if a quarter of those actually participate in fundraising, the potential to generate way more money is apparent. Okay, so empower your supporters not only to undertake things like cake bakes and marathon runs, that's your traditional fundraisers, but empower them also to set up their own lotteries, to set up their own auctions and raffles. Okay. And again, going back to the charities that just rely on donations and fundraisers, I think it was Enthuse. Enthuse do some really great research, but Enthuse did some really good research related to fundraisers, and they found that out of your supporter base, only really 1 in 5 people will ever really do a marathon run or cake bake. Okay, so by empowering your supporter base and allowing them to create different experiences related to who they are, again, you will see that increase in fundraising income. Okay, so let me now show you an example. So I'm going to stop the screen share and share another window. Okay, hopefully you can see this. Let me know if you can't see the Age UK page. So this is just a Age UK, Leicestershire and Rutland wall, and it shows all of the campaign pages and fundraising pages supporting that charity. So this is an example of a branded platform, and supporters can come here and fundraise using donation, in memory, raffles, events, auctions, etc. So this is a really good example of empowering your supporters to participate in your fundraising. So let's just sign in. So in actual fact, this is an example of a supporter signing into the Age UK, Leicestershire and Rutland fundraising portal, and they have all of these tools in which to participate with. Okay, so let's go through. Actual fact, we'll go through showing you an example of the lottery page and the experience compared to a raffle page. Okay, and again, call out if you can't see the page. So this is a reasonably branded lottery page here. On the page, I just created these this morning. You know, it talks about, you know, what the lottery is going to be. You know, a nice little YouTube video about Age UK. It talks about when, how much the lottery tickets are, you know, the prizes. So this is a really good example of a 50% split of the prize fund. Now, this is a really good example as well of a potential local lottery. So it will be distributed to Leicestershire and Rutland community. And it's local as well because people can also see how much is raised through the lottery and how many supporters are engaged in the lottery. And again, it's small statistics like this that can really drive up greater engagement. So now, as somebody who wants to purchase tickets, lottery tickets, I now go through now selecting my tickets. Now, this lottery page has been set up to increase the odds of somebody winning. So if you look at a lot of the national charity lotteries, or if you look at the national lottery, what you'll notice if people have to choose like 5, 6, 7 numbers, okay? So you can implement that in within this mechanism. However, people know that they're pretty much not going to win, okay? Therefore, the lottery becomes a donation ask. So again, this is an example of a local lottery whereby we specifically set up that people can choose, say, 2 numbers as opposed to 5 or 6. Okay, and you can actually set up the system to choose as many numbers as you want, and the numbers within these you can, you know, specify the range as well. Now, I can now enter as many number lines as I like. And again, this typically and traditionally aligns to what most people think of as a lottery. And again, if I compare it to a lot of the national charity lotteries, it is a raffle where you can't choose your numbers yourself. Now, this is important. It's a question of engagement, okay? So people who play the lottery, you're probably aware that you always choose your lucky numbers, or in some way you create your numbers. So by taking that out of the equation, you're diminishing that experience that somebody has when they actually enter the lottery as well. Okay, so I'd choose my numbers, I'd put in my card details, and I would make the purchase. Okay. Just also to point out as well, one can also buy lottery tickets with gift vouchers as well. Now, we all know by UK law you aren't allowed to buy lottery tickets with credit, so things like purchasing with a credit card is out. Um, and also purchasing with things like PayPal is out as well because it's credit based. Um, However, with our platform, you can set up a gift voucher page. I can then purchase with credit, debit, whatever payment mechanism I want to purchase, say, £10 worth of gift vouchers. I then send that to family and friends. They can then take that gift voucher and again enter their lottery numbers and join the lottery with their gift voucher number. Now, that is, again, another example of thinking about engagement and participation with your supporters. So, why is that? So, we always want to expand out in our individual corporate and community fundraising networks. How do I do that? So, I can go to my individual corporate and community network, and I can say, here's a mechanism you can use to bring in a potential new supporter. So, me as a supporter of a charity, say it's my wife's birthday, I can't think of anything to, I'm trying to think of a really good present to give her. So, I'm supporting a local charity, Age UK, Leicestershire, and Rutland, and I gift voucher her, say, £100 worth of whatever she wants to spend it on within the Age UK, Leicestershire and Rutland's fundraising platform. And she therefore buys her lottery ticket. And in doing so, not only do you get that, obviously, £100, because I wouldn't have necessarily made another donation with that £100. However, it's a nice gift to be able to give that person. But also, you've got the potential of a new supporter coming into your charity fold as well. Okay, so always think about the development of that relationship with your supporter base. So yeah, I can put the gift voucher code in, say this is my wife. She now enters the lottery and now she is a potential new supporter. Okay, so let's just compare that to a raffle page. And again, this, interesting enough, this comes from the perspective of a supporter signing in and setting up these things. As a charity, obviously, you've got this full capability as well. The structure is very much the same. You've got the about, you can put YouTube videos, Flickr slideshows, etc. And now you can do super interesting things like saying the first prize is 50%, second prize is 10%, third prize is 4-5% and things like that. Now, if I go to buy again, I'm restricted by payment method. But importantly, I just now select the number of tickets that I want to purchase, okay? And then enter my details in, and then the purchase goes through, okay? And again, remember the key differentiators here. With raffles, somebody always wins. With lotteries, somebody doesn't always win. You only win if the numbers the systems generate match the winning ones, and therefore you have concepts of rollover and whatnot. So use these two experiences, differentiate them to generate more supporter engagement. Okay. Right. So just to show you to set up a page, again, one of the things with setting up these types of fundraisers is you want to be able to, and you want your supporters to be able to set these things up very quickly. So again, if you look at the national charity lotteries, those types of lotteries will be very hard to replicate, say, on a local level. Okay, but with new technology solutions now, you can set up lotteries again as long as you've got the appropriate licenses really quickly. Now that has a couple of effects. Firstly, you can distribute the facility of lotteries not only nationally but locally as well. So again, take the Age UK example. Any Age UK subdivision could now set up their own lottery. Okay, but it also allows you to do far more or have far more interesting experiences. Why not, do what you're doing now, hold a weekly lottery or a monthly lottery, but why not have a flash lottery, one that lasts maybe 1 or 2 days? Or you could have a yearly lottery plus, daily lotteries. You can really create types of lotteries you hold, okay? So let's go through the experience of setting up a lottery page. So I'm setting up a lottery, and I've got some description about what it is. There'll always be a link to the lottery, and again, we always want to propagate your brand all the time throughout the complete user experience. So the URL, should also replicate your brand. You can do things like display totals on the page or total number of supporters on the page. You don't need to do this if you don't want to. You can put the QR codes on the page. You can make the page public, which means it will appear on search results and whatnot. And then you specify start and end dates, the lottery. And this is where it becomes interesting in terms of setting up the chances of winning. So I can I can define a lottery ticket price. And if you look at a lot of the national orientated charities, they are hard coded. People are going to always buy a lottery ticket for £1. So again, you can be creative now. You can have a high value lottery whereby the entry price is maybe £10 for a ticket, but the odds of winning are greater. Or you can have a low value lottery ticket of 50p or something. You can be really creative when you have the tools to experiment and create your own pages. You can restrict the number of lottery tickets. And in terms of choosing the lottery numbers, at least our system allows you to choose anything between 1 and 10. And within the numbers you choose, you can also specify the number range you choose. So, for example, if the lottery is I'm specifying somebody only has to choose one number and that number I choose between 1 and 10, then the person buying that ticket knows they have a 1 in 10 chance of winning. Okay. So this is where you can become really creative and provide a really engaging experience to your supporter base. Okay, so let's just make that slightly different. The system can notify who's won what automatically, and by law, you need like promoter details and promoter email address. Okay, so before we go to the next stage, when you are interacting with your supporter base, always think about taking the opportunity to extend your fundraising income potential or to continue that conversation. So in this case, what we're going to do as well, we're going to ask for an optional donation when somebody is making a lottery ticket purchase. Okay. And at the same time, we're going to apply age verification. Okay, so let's just create that. You can assign different campaigns to your lottery. So a campaign is an area of focus within your charity. So it could represent, say, a local RSPCA or RSPB, or it could represent maybe the Christmas campaign or the Lent campaign and things like that. And also you can split where purchases go. So you can say 50% of this will go to the national campaign and 50% to the local, say, RSPCA or Age UK branch. And then you enter your prizes. You can enter as many prizes as you want. Again, you can be really creative here. Don't just think of lottery prizes as they need to be monetary in value. You can lottery off an item. Okay, and so last week's talk talked about when to use auctions and raffles when you have a certain amount of items, especially high value items compared to low value items. So you can bring those items into the mix as well. So for example, say if you have a very high value item, consider, should I raffle it off where somebody's always going to win it? Should I auction it off where the highest bidder is going to win it? Or should I lottery it, put it through a lottery where only the person choosing the right numbers will win it? So yeah, the lottery prizes don't always have to be monetary, and you can be very creative with how you set these things up. Okay, so I specify that in this case, there's one of these prizes. Um, it needs to match, I think it was two numbers, and the win type is a percentage win, and it's now 50%. I add it to my lottery. And again, this is a lottery I've just set up, super, super quick. Okay. And so that's another aspect of fundraising. You want to have the tools available at your fingertips to create these experiences when it's right, when it's relevant. Okay. Now, in terms of further support or engagement, remember we always want to think about. Sorry about that. We always want to think about always taking every opportunity to engage with your supporter base and pass them on to the next action. So then always think about tools such as email notification messages and notification messages. So when somebody buys a lottery ticket, they will, receive a pre-canned email. So it will say, "Dear first name, last name, you have purchased X lottery tickets. Here are your lottery details below," etc. And so this will be a branded email or an unbranded email if it comes from the People's Fundraising platform. If you notice here, we've got a placeholder for an email notification message. Now, what this allows you to do, it allows you to add some text to the email message, essentially pointing the supporter to the next action. So whenever you set up this type of fundraiser, be it raffle, auction, lottery, donation page, always think about the next action you would like to that supporter to participate with and signpost them to it. So within your email notification message, you could say, "Thanks very much for entering the our weekly lottery. Click here maybe to see the impact of the money that's generated from the lottery, or click here to see other fundraising pages and raffles auctions you may also be interested in." So always think about, or rather, don't think about setting up a lottery as a one-time event. Think about it as it is part of a continuum of developing that relationship with your supporter. In the same way, you can also add a notification message. So somebody buys a raffle lottery ticket, they're going to go to a thank you page. You can add wording to that. Really, really important. You can also add a questionnaire. Somebody buys a lottery ticket, and then you can ask them a series of questions. Typically, if somebody makes a donation, the question would be, do you want to subscribe to this mailing list, that mailing list? You can ask them as many questions as you like. Now, interestingly, you've got small techniques called short linking and tagging. Now, short linking is a very powerful technique. And what it allows you to do, remember, we're always coming from the perspective of developing the relationship with your supporters. So yes, we're talking about lotteries now, but think about, if I'm holding a lottery this month, I want to hold a lottery next month as well. Okay. And so there'll potentially be either that's going to be an ongoing lottery, or it's going to be discrete lottery or raffle or auction. So what short links allow you to do, they allow you to create a generic link or QR code. And what you do is you assign your short link to the current lottery, raffle, auction. And when you, for example, publish your link or QR code to social media, you put it on flyers, you put it in shops, you put it at the school gate. Because you're linking your short link to the current fundraiser, it doesn't matter if somebody finds a flyer that was published a year ago or 2 years ago or TikTok post. They click on the short link and they're always going to go to the current fundraiser. Okay. And again, what we're doing here is we're setting up a framework for, yes, using the lottery experience as an opportunity to generate revenue, but we're also using the lottery experience to develop that relationship with your supporter. Okay. Now, along with short links, you want to use the other technique of tagging as well. Now, again, remember, this is about, yes, using the lottery experience to generate income, but we want to develop that relationship and get to know our supporter base. So what does tagging allow you to do? So we've created the first lottery in our series of lotteries for a charity. And what we're going to do, we're going to publish the short link out to the wider world. Okay. Now, we know something of our supporters when we know from where people access the pages. So we know that if somebody accesses from, or your majority of your supporters come from Facebook as opposed to TikTok or Instagram, then your supporter base is generally slightly older. You know, I used to say 40, and then somebody said, well, I still use like Facebook and I'm 30. So what's going on there? But generally, the older generation use Facebook as opposed to TikTok or Instagram. Or, for example, you know, you could have a YouTube link as well. Again, you're connected to a Gaming for Good channel on YouTube, you know, and then they link out, or on their YouTube channel or on the video, they actually put the QR code. Now, the key thing here is, because the short link and long link are tagged, if I scan this when I'm watching a YouTube video, or if I scan it at a shop, so the shop one would be something like this. Or if I click on the link on Facebook or Instagram, when somebody makes a purchase, that their location is being saved against that purchase. And so therefore I can understand from where people are clicking or scanning into the page. Okay. So again, yes, use lotteries, use raffles appropriately, differentiate between the experience, but then consider that experience as part of the continuum of developing a relationship with your supporter, understanding who they are by using techniques such as tagging. And over time, you will see your fundraising income increase. Right, so let me now go back to the presentation slides again. Okay, so hopefully I showed you how you can essentially, you know, set up, you know, local lotteries. You can increase things like odds. You can also differentiate the experience. And me setting up those pages, that was in the context of me as a supporter setting up those pages on the Age UK, Leicestershire and Rutland's fully branded fundraising site. Okay, so what we're doing here, we are essentially using these techniques for greater engagement and overall, in the longer term, greater income generation. Okay, so that's essentially the overview today of how we believe you can effectively use lotteries. Again, local relevance, etc. Coming from ourselves, how can we support that? Well, we can support that with our fundraising platform. So we're a charity ourselves, and through our platform, you as a non-profit and your supporters can engage or set up donations, in memory, individual and team fundraisers, raffles, events, lotteries, auctions, gift vouchers, and shops as fundraising streams. So coming out of that traditional mode of fundraising, where you just ask your supporters to do cake bakes and marathon runs, going to that next level of maturity in your fundraising, providing interesting supporter experiences, but also subsequently empowering your supporters to participate in their own way. Okay, so we provide that as a platform, both branded and unbranded. We have a lower management costs because all of those fundraising streams are through a single data integration, and the platform's pay as you go. In actual fact, a branded platform is lower than just giving accounts, and also end-to-end charity branded as well. Again, the charity brand throughout the end-to-end supporter experience is critical, especially for local charities, because supporters want to have a relationship with you, and primarily you develop that relationship through your brand experience, through your brand voice, as described, you know, on the pages you go to. So it's really important, the end-to-end charity branding. Okay, so that's it for today. Any questions on that at all?
Thank you.
Well, thank you very much, Penny. Nice to see you as well.
Yeah. No,
Yeah.
it's great. Thank you.
Good. Right, so we'll be having these sessions roughly every week, depending on, you know, your holidays and such like. So I think we're talking about either gift vouchers next week or memberships and sponsorships. If you have any questions, please get in touch. Email is nathan.pinkney@peoplesfundraising.com, and have a great weekend. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Bye-bye.